Welcome to The Hedonist. Today we'll be discussing another important area in welfare economics, that is the first theorem of welfare economics. I have added a detailed note on first theorem of welfare economics at the end of this video for your reference. The first theorem of welfare economics is also known as the fundamental theorem of welfare economics and also as the invisible hand theorem of welfare economics. The first theorem of welfare economics is basically an explanation of how the Pareto optimality conditions are working in a perfectly competitive market. So, the first theorem of welfare economics simply postulates general competitive equilibrium is Pareto optimal. The first theorem of welfare economics is showing how the three marginal conditions of Pareto optimality are working in a perfectly competitive market. The three marginal conditions of Pareto optimality are efficiency in exchange, efficiency in production, and allocation efficiency. So, how these three conditions are fulfilled in a perfectly competitive market, this is what actually showing by the first theorem of welfare economics. Now, let us check how these three conditions are fulfilled in a perfectly competitive market one by one. The first one, perfect competition and efficiency in exchange. According to Pareto optimality condition, the efficiency in exchange is attained when the marginal rate of substitution for two consumers, consumer A and consumer B, for two goods, commodity X and commodity Y, are same. A consumer maximizes his satisfaction when the marginal rate of substitution for commodity X and commodity Y for that particular consumer is equal to the price ratio of commodity X and commodity Y. That is, the marginal rate of substitution for commodity X and commodity Y for the consumer A is equal to the price of X divided by the price of Y. It is at this point the consumer maximizes his satisfaction. Same way for consumer B, he will be also maximizing his satisfaction at the point where the marginal rate of substitution for commodity X and commodity Y is equal to the price ratios of two commodities. As we have studied the features of a perfectly competitive market, the most important feature of a perfectly competitive market is that the prices of goods are same for all the consumers in the market. So, in the above two equations, the price ratio, price of X divided by the price of Y, will be same. Therefore, we can say that the marginal rate of substitution for two commodities by the consumer A will be equal to the marginal rate of substitution by the consumer B for these two commodities. So, we can say that the first condition of Pareto optimality, the condition of efficiency in exchange, is perfectly working in a perfectly competitive market. Now, moving to the second criteria of Pareto optimality, that is efficiency in production. The efficiency in production criterion of Pareto optimality states that the MRTS, the marginal rate of technical substitution between any two inputs, for example, labor and capital, should be same for two firms, firm A and firm B. This condition can also be found fulfilled in a perfectly competitive market. Being in a perfectly competitive market, the prices of factors of production are always constant and firms are equilibrium at the point where the highest possible isocount tangents to the isocost line. That determines the equilibrium of a producer. As you know, the MRTS, the marginal rate of technical substitution, which is nothing but the slope of a isocount. And the slope of a isocost line or a budget line is the price ratio between two factors. That is, at equilibrium point, the slope of isochron MRTS will be equal to the price ratio of factors of production, that is W divided by R, where W is the wage, which is the payment for labor, and R, which is meant by rent. So the producer EA will be in equilibrium at the point where MRTS of labor and capital is equal to W by R. And the same way, producer B will be also in equilibrium at the point where MRTS of LK, labor and capital, will be equal to the W by R. So, as I said, under perfect competition, the prices of factors of production are same. That is, in both the above equation, the price ratio of factors of production will be same. So, we can say that the MRTS for labor and capital for producer EA will be equal to the MRTS of labor and capital for producer B, which is simply the second condition of Pareto optimality, that is, the condition of efficiency in production. Now, let us move to the final criterion of Pareto optimality, that is, the criterion of allocative efficiency. The allocative efficiency of Pareto optimality shows that the MRS, the marginal rate of substitution of two commodities for two consumers, should be equal to the MRTS, the marginal rate of technical substitution for labor and capital for two producers, should be same. Under perfect competition, a firm is in equilibrium when the marginal cost is equal to the price. That is, for commodity X, the marginal cost of X is equal to the price of X, where the firm will be in equilibrium. Same way, for commodity Y, marginal cost of Y is equal to the price of Y. So, the firms in a perfectly competitive market are reaching into equilibrium at the point where the marginal cost ratios are equal to the price ratios. Here, it is to be noted that the marginal cost ratios of two commodities is nothing but the marginal rate of transformation between them. And under perfect competition, the consumer is reaching to the equilibrium at the point where the highest possible indifference curve tangents to his budget line. That is, the MRS of XY is equal to the price of X divided by the price of Y. So, when we put these two cases of both the producer and the consumer, we can write the equation as MRS of XY is equal to MRT of XY, which is nothing but the allocative efficiency of Pareto optimality. So, in this way, we can say that the Pareto optimality conditions are holding in a perfectly competitive market also. So, this is how the Pareto conditions are fulfilled in a perfectly competitive market. This is what actually showing by the first theorem of welfare economics. Hope you got some idea on the topic. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.